The program needs not self-reflectors. They are the organizers of the program. They are servants of the program, and I don't mean that in any negative sense. The program is only bad if you're trying to be abnormal and wake up. Otherwise, the program is delicious. It's the large, fucked up, normal life that everybody lives. They become enforcers of the program and challenge the people who want out. They are a programmed life, and there's no greater challenge than to awaken a reflector. Wowrah, challenge accepted. Hey, I'm Desiree, and welcome to my Inspired Human channel, where I discuss inspiring concepts inspired by mysticism and philosophy. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the mystical science of human design and explain exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about the program in context to human design. And the inspiration and shout outs for this video goes directly to everyone that's included in the Inspiring Reflectors Facebook group. There's a link down below. If you haven't already joined, please consider joining. This is your official invitation. But primarily, I want to give a shout out to Perry, Molly, and Dawn, because it was Perry that uploaded the document from when Ra was still with us from a retreat. It was Molly who actually decided to read it because she wanted to understand herself and provoked this question or asked what is Ra really talking about when he's talking about, reflectors being the program, or, reflectors being caught up in the program and so forth. And then synchronistically, Dawn posted a link to a SoundCloud recording of Ra talking about the reflector strategy. Okay, so now that we got all of that out of the way, let's talk about the program. Now, first, I'm going to talk about little p program, then I'm going to talk about big P program, and then I'm going to share some tips and some other things to help digest this big P program if you are a reflector, maybe if you're not a reflector, but just kind of some other ideas to help you relax as this information is very, very heavy. Personally, I have seen reflectors come to this point in human design and completely just say, I don't want human design, I don't really like it. Or I've seen a lot of reflectors come across this information, get it directly from Ra Uru Hu, who is the founder of human design, and really dislike it because he really is kind of just cut and dry with his explanation of the program and reflectors, and he doesn't really seem to be very apologetic about his explanation with that. So the goal of this video is to present that same information using quotes directly from Ra Uru Hu about what he says about the program and reflectors, and give it to you in a very digestible way, and hopefully it kind of alleviates some of this existential questioning or uneasiness that may come up when presented with the program and reflectors connection to it. So when we're talking about the program, you probably already are kind of thinking that it is this idea that it's the homogenized world versus everyone who's not in the program, and they're more enlightened or they're more awakened. They have a higher perspective of the mechanics going on in this program. Now, this program, the homogenized world, it's the people that blindly follow wherever. It's the group thinking. It's the systems and the way that we educate ourselves, the way that we educate our children. It is the systems comprised in, our survival. It really just includes this group sheep-like-ish behavior where a whole bunch of people are just kind of blindly following a system without questioning it. Now, what ends up happening is that certain specific people begin to question whether or not living in this program is actually beneficial for them. And once they begin to do that internal work, or they begin to self-reflect, this is when they want to get out of the program. And when you get out of the program, usually this is where spirituality will come in, or more of an abstract way of thinking. Because when we're talking about awakening, we're really talking about people becoming more enlightened, becoming more aware, having a higher level of awareness of not only what's going on in the program, but also, themselves, and aligning to their true self, or aligning to their higher self. So again, this is the idea that if you are in the program, you're not being really aware of who you truly are. Rather, you're just kind of adopting identities and adopting beliefs that were placed on you from your religious teachings, your educational teachings, and of course, your parents, your upbringing, and your experience, and so forth. Now, whenever you get out of the program, this is whenever you begin to find your true self. You no longer want to be the not self that you were in the program. You want to be your true self, your authentic self, and you want to align to your higher self. So when we're talking about reflectors and being in the program of not being the not self, Ra does say that, reflectors, or the not self reflector, is the most dangerous type, not self, than any other type. So the not self reflector is very, very dangerous, and they're going to keep people stuck in this program. But what we're seeing, or what's happening right now, if you're watching my channel and you are a reflector, is that you probably are not so much part of this homogenized program right now. Now, maybe you still are, maybe you're not, maybe you're still kind of like in between of trying to understand yourself and who you really are, and going through the deconditioning process, which in human design takes 7 years, regardless of your type. It doesn't really matter. It's going to take 7 years to really fully decondition. And then during this deconditioning process, you really are laying everything out on the table, who you are, what you were exposed to, and then trying to find that evidence from within of what is aligned to you and what isn't aligned to you. So how does the reflector actually become so conditioned and become the not self in the reflector? Well, that's because we have completely open centers. And we know in human design, whenever you look at your chart and you have an open center, this is the area that you become conditioned in. Now, reflectors are not so much supposed to be conditioned by the program. It's just something that naturally happens because everybody is born into the program. So technically everything is considered to be programmed because it is an ideology, it is a belief system, and it really is something that is external versus internal. And what's really important to understand is that becoming internal, or finding that internal alignment to who you are to give you direction, is very difficult one for a reflector or anybody that has an open G center, but specifically for a reflector, because we are heavily tied to big P program. Now, when we're talking about big P program in human design, we're really talking about the position of the planets. And we're really talking about what gate is actually activated by a specific planet. And then we are going to compare the position of the planets to the actual individualized reflector chart. So this is how the reflector, in a sense, gets its life force. It gets its energy. It gets its direction in life. It is very and completely dependent upon the planetary positions and what is currently activated in the reflector. For example, the position of the moon and the position of the sun and all the other planetary placements and what it's activating is going to have a very profound effect on the reflector, because this is what is giving us our energy. It's what's giving us our life force. It's what's giving us the motivation to talk, to communicate, to act, to go into life, to see what exactly is aligned to us. And sometimes this can be really difficult for a reflector because one minute we're aligned to something and then the planets move and then we're not aligned to something else. As the moon is moving around the mandala wheel, it's activating all of these different gates. And as it's activating all of these different gates, it's, this is our cycle. Our life is an endless cycle. And it's really difficult to live, this endless cycle if you're unaware of like your own personal cycle in the homogenized world. So because the reflector has this perspective and this life of endless cycles, all other types do not. So naturally, when we're talking about the program, little p program, it's going to reflect this lifestyle that has no cycles, right? It's linear, so to speak. And we see this in all of our teachings, life, death, everything in between, right? Everything that we're exposed to in this program, in the homogenized world, is presented to us in a linear fashion. But the reflector's life isn't like that. But the reality is, big P program, nobody's life is. Like, everything is just like this continuous cycle that seems to just never end. So when we're talking about reflectors and their connection to the little p program, what we're really talking about is the reflector actually reflecting back what they are exposing themselves to. So a reflector being completely wrapped up in the homogenized world, and the program is going to reinforce that. And we see that, they're probably heavily involved in religion. They probably are completely gung-ho about modern science and all of this modern technology, and completely wasteful in nature, because these are kind of the patterns that we see in the homogenized world. And when a reflector begins to self-reflect, or if it's part of their karmic existence to stumble upon human design and to actually understand themselves, then we begin to see that the reflector is more aligned to reflecting back programs that offer higher level of awareness, that promote higher level of consciousness, that actually promote self-growth. So if you are a reflector and you're listening to Ra talk about, some of these things about the reflector just being completely lost in the sauce and the not self and completely conditioned,
he's absolutely right. He's absolutely true, because the reflector that never stumbles upon human design is, completely lost and can be absolutely miserable, because they don't have that context of understanding their life being a cycle. And because you already stumbled upon human design, where regardless of your type, you already have that karmic existence of, being more aware than the average person. So you already are on this, I don't want to say right or wrong path, because there is no right or wrong path, but you really are on the path of understanding yourself, of connecting to your higher self, connecting to your true self, so to speak. And for the reflector, that does have to deal with, at certain points, surrendering to the fact that the planets are influencing you on a very, very profound level. This is why, if you're a reflector, you're coming across human design, you're going to see that a lot of people are going to tell you to just kind of surrender to that. It really makes a lot of sense for a reflector to not struggle against sampling other people's energy, so being around other people, and also don't struggle to allowing the position of the planets to do their thing and to connect with you on a very profound and mysterious way, because that is what the reflector life is all about. So hopefully now you understand a little bit more about the program. If you have any questions, you can comment them down below. Don't forget to head on over to Facebook, the Inspiring Reflectors Facebook group, request to join, and check out my blog articles on inspired human design. And if you feel compelled to support me in my research in human design, check out my Patreon page. The link is down below. And that's all I have for you. I will see you guys in the future. I'll see you next time. This was really long. Bye.